So within the last lesson, we looked at what we could do with math and what it did to integers. Now there's also some built-in functionality that JavaScript has for strings as well. So we've got a few strings over here, and if you notice that we're using the double quotes here, so we could very well use single quotes as well. But what if we had something like apples or something like that? We see that when we use that single quote again, it actually breaks out of the string. So JavaScript will read first apple, and then it will pick up the next single quote, and then this part here it's not going to understand. So there is a way to break out of that, and this is what this backslash is used for. So this allows us to include single quotes, but they don't get registered as single quotes. They only get read as single quotes within that string context. And this is the same thing to be used in case we're using double quotes, so we can break out of that as well if we need to. So if this was double quoted, we could use those to break out of there. And also, so that's just one thing about formatting strings. And also within strings, just like we had this math function, we've got some really cool stuff that we can do with strings as well. So first of all, we've got the ability to find out the length of a string. So if I go over here to console, and I'm going to just comment this part out, and we're not going to be using the functions within this example. So if I wanted to find out the length or the number of characters that are available within this particular string element, I can do something like apple AB and then just type in length. So length is the built-in function, and this is one of those reserved words as well. We don't want to be defining a variable using length equals whatever. So we don't want to be doing that, and that's because this is predefined, and this is actually going to give us a value of the number of characters that are within this string. So just offhand, I'm seeing roughly around 14. So now I can go out here, refresh it, or I should say 13 characters, because we're starting with 0, so we're getting a total of 13 there. So length 13, so that's 11, 12, and this backslash isn't getting counted. So there we have our 13. So if we were to remove out this, go back out and refresh it, so now we've got 12, because we simply removed back the backslash, and then that single quote was the one that was being counted there. We can also do things like replace. So we could have a built-in function where we do something like variable h and set that to, and we're going to use that apple AB as well within this example. So what we want to do is we want to use this built-in function called replace, and now we have to indicate what we want to replace. So maybe I want to replace first, and the string that I want it to replace with is going to be new. And I'm going to just console log out that. I'll keep the length there just to show you that now we're going to have a new calculation, so we're going to have a new length there. Refresh it, and we see we've got the first apples. We still have that length there. And that's right, we gave it a value of h, so h would have to be the one that we're working with. So we'd update those to h, refresh it, and we see that with the replace worked. It replaced that word with new and updated the count as well, because we're actually looking at this new value of apple AB using strength or replace. So also we do have other built-in functions such as slice. So we can actually do a slice on it where we can do an h and slice, and this is the position where we're going to slice at. So starting position of the first character is where we're going to slice h. So see how that turns out. So we removed away the first character, which was n. So we can also provide an end in there as well. So we just comma separate that out, and maybe we could do something like 5, and that would pick up those characters and it would slice it at the end of 5. So starting at 1 position, so we had our first letter N, starting there, so we get 1, 2, 3, 4, and then another slice there to remove out that the rest of the content. So essentially we could slice out and pull out that content. We've got another one that we can use as well. So I'm going to just copy this over so that we have it within the resource section when I save all these different options that we have with strings. So the next one we have is substring, and substring works the same way as the slice. So we're just going to keep opposite as the slice. So just show you the way that works. And we see that we've got that extra number in there because of our starting and finishing position. So what it does, it actually includes it. If we want to change all of our case, maybe if we want to change it all to lowercase, so we can do that as well within these built-in functions. So if we want to take, I'm going to take apple AB, and I'm going to update this to first, I'm going to update that to apples, and maybe we just change something like that. And so we have the ability to change it to lowercase. So all it is 2 lowercase. And just show you what comes out there. So we actually, it's putting the function in there. So I have to actually, this one's going to be slightly different, where I have to, instead of the length, it works the same way as the slice and the substring, where I need to have those brackets in there. And now when I do it, I can actually see that it does transform it to lowercase. We can also transform to uppercase as well. So lowercase, all uppercase. And there's a few other built-in methods as well that we can use, but for the most part these are the most common ones that you'd be using within strings. So in the next lesson we're going to talk more about what we can do within our JavaScript, and we're going to be looking in more detail about arrays and how arrays work within JavaScript. So that's coming up in the next lesson.